orthopedic component. We have a lot. We have a lot of good stuff, right?
Without a
But
doubt.
strong backs is definitely a huge component. Um, so yeah, so now let's kind of shift gears, man. So we had that build up. So now let's get into the nitty gritty. Like, why is this an issue? Why is it so, like I said, I think it's common sense to anyone who sits down and looks at the way the body moves, has studied, I have my master's, but it's, exercise science, strength and conditioning. But even during my studies, I'm not even doing the medical stuff and I'm reading these things about how it fixes, uh, yeah, it can improve say injury recovery rates. It can decrease cancer, decrease all these different chronic diseases, staying slim, and low body fat percentage decreases diabetes and all the comorbidities that go along with that. And you had mentioned before you did that study with like the military, right? And they're running 2 miles. Well, I just thought, like, even within our military, these standards are dropping, right? But the military, and I don't even know what it is now. It's like, I think in the Air Force you can run. I could be wrong, but I think it's like you can run or ride a bike or something. Like
Yeah.
this, and so like this acknowledgement of the importance of being strong and healthy and having good cardio. Where is that going wrong? Where did that happen? Why did it happen? We'll go from there.
Yeah. So you're now asking me another provocative question where if I'm politically incorrect and truthful with my answer, you're going to end up getting me fired from every job I ever had. But I'm still going to answer you because this is just a passion of mine. And first of all, do I really know the answer is no, I don't, but I have my views on it. And I would definitely lean towards the fact that there's at least part of the issue is there's just too many fitness organizations. Like there's just too many hands in the pot, and trying to play a role in what's supposed to be right. And I'm not going to call out other organizations, but hopefully the audience at least has an idea what I'm talking about. And you have, if it was only ever the NSCA and ACSM that existed, which
Mhm.
I can, I would like to think are the two governing bodies in exercise science, and strength and conditioning, well, especially NSCA with strength and conditioning. If that's all that ever existed, then we wouldn't have other entities popping up saying, oh, well, because as soon as another entity pops up, then you got to start changing things. You got to start saying, oh, well, we're going to do it this way. And you start creating things your own way. And I think and also just the fact that the health club, not the health club, the fitness industry in general is obviously it's unregulated. The barrier to entry is low,
Mhm.
and and you just have so much that's being thrown into the pot with. And I'm not saying some of the stuff is bad, but like for instance, whether it's Pilates or yoga or metabolic training and in the higher repetition ranges with lighter weights where they never go into lower heavier loads and stuff like that, and then also the physical sports medicine and physical therapy's influence on our industry with therabands and a lot of the lower intensity exercises and stuff like that. And really what it does is it just kind of leads to a one says this, the next says that. People are kind of falling further and further away of what the governing body guidelines are and the established guidelines. And then from a medical field standpoint, they see all this. And, while it's a major frustration for me that they underappreciate and underutilize strength training and strength and conditioning,
Yeah.
th- um, in their defense a little bit,
Mhm.
if I was a doctor and I see what's going on with the fitness field in general, I'd also be a little bit afraid to be, who, because from their standpoint, how do I vet trainers or coaches to know that they're actually qualified? Like there's all kinds of issues. How do I vet them? How
Yeah.
do I know where to find them? Is there a database that I can go to? This is actually all kinds of stuff that I'm currently involved with some of the medical organizations that I collaborate with. And these are the questions that come up from a clinician end. They aren't completely opposed to it, A lot of them are, but they don't know where to find. Are you going to hurt my patients? So they see all these stories and hear all these stories from their patients about trainers starting off too hard, injuring their patients, et cetera, et cetera. So the answer to your question is just is really many pieces of the puzzle. It's really complex, but I think a lot of it, I think the root of a lot of it is just there's too many chiefs from an organization standpoint, not enough Indians, and just too much influence going on. When if I were king of the world, I would just be sticking with NSCA, ACSM, basic guidelines. Why the wheel doesn't need to be reinvented. Like you said, if we could just get people doing the basics, we'd prevent or heal up like 70-80% of the issues that are out there. So
yeah, so yeah, what so we had talked a little bit about I mean, one, there's no respect, and maybe there shouldn't be respect because there's a lot of crap in the fitness industry. I think we all know that. What's
without a doubt.
and there's no type of, there's no type of, I mean, anyone can say whatever stupid stuff they want. They can show blatant, before or after, which is like, that's no, that didn't happen. And there's this mass confusion within the general population, right? And so it's very hard for them. That's the first time I said I could see that, because they're probably, I would say the more popular fitness is, the worse it probably is. That's a very general statement, but the more popular something is with the general community, it's probably worse for you, or maybe not as effective. Technical difficulty. All right, so yeah, so that question. So you had mentioned, some, doctors there maybe worried about prescribing strength and conditioning to their clients, and maybe rightfully so. We have a bunch of crap out in the fitness industry. So I guess my rebuttal to that would be, and again, not a rebuttal, I'm arguing with you, but why don't indies have a better gist of strength and conditioning themselves? It's I don't want to say it's not hard, but it's base. It's really, that's the thing, is basic, man. And people want to make it harder than it is. So one, why don't they have a better education of a proper strength and conditioning protocol? And why don't they maybe grasp the importance of it as much, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to divvy out pills and, chemo and insulin and all this stuff, why not prescribe, walking or, squats?
That's right. So this is another, a question I can absolutely answer. It's a little tough, in the sense that, first of all, it's obviously a major problem, and it's kind of well known that medical schools don't have exercise science as part of the curriculum. And and the truth is, even like, for instance, physical therapy and DPT programs, they tend to just, obviously there's going to be outliers, but they tend to just touch on this stuff. And I'm just, for whatever it's worth and for the audience sake, just for their information, there's an organization that formed about a year and a half ago. It's called the Physical Activity Alliance. It is it's actually the merging of three really large organizations, and they recognize this as a problem, a major problem, what we're talking about right now. And they've created like a 20-year plan to get America moving. And within that plan, there's like a flow chart of all these different sectors, like what we're talking about right now, what's called the clinic to community sector, just the clinic sector, the government and municipality sector, et cetera, et cetera. And they've created a 20-year plan to try to make systemic changes across the board. And within that 20-year plan, and within the Physical Activity Alliance, there is a working group called the Physical Activity Assessment, Prescription, and Referral Working Group that I'm really fortunate to be a part of. I'm a part of it because of I chaired a fitness and medicine member interest group for a medical organization called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is actually how I met Andrew Mock. And I chaired it for 4 years. And so through that organization, I was ended up being put on this working group. This working group we've created, and I say we, look, I'm just a member of the working group, but the working group itself created a 3 to 5 year plan to start to try to make changes, in systemic changes. So I think you might know from your discussion with Andrew Mock that this stuff is starting to go on now, in medical schools, right? And so why it was never inserted into med schools, that I can't answer. But what I can answer is that changes are occurring, and it's going to take, probably a good 5 years to really start to see it, and see it manifested. But changes are occurring. And just for whatever it's worth, this working group I'm on that I just mentioned, there's about 27, 28 members. It includes leadership and senior leadership for the CDC, the American Heart Association, NSCA is represented on this, ACSM, YMCA USA, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, American Physical Therapy Association, National Athletic Trainer Association. I could go on and on. American Cancer Society. So these are big dogs. Like, this is the real deal. So this is being worked on in the background, but until it gets fixed, it is a major problem. So the answer to your question is, why don't they understand? Because it's not part of their curriculum. And unless they have an undergrad or in exercise science or related field, then they just don't learn it. And unfortunately, it's just not being infiltrated into their minds and into their curricula how important this is. So they literally don't even think about it. And let me say one other thing. From an MD standpoint, and this is just my biased opinion, they're learning physiology so they can understand the body's systems, pathology so they can understand how disease affects the body systems, and then pharmacology so they can understand how to drug things. So that's the route. I know I'm really painting a broad brush, not completely fair, but generally speaking, it's those 3 Ps, and they're learning how to manage things from a pharmaceutical standpoint rather than from an exercise standpoint. It's a major problem. American College of Lifestyle Medicine recognizes it. It's the reason why the Andrew Mocks of the world are doing what they're doing, and trying to instill this stuff in med school. But it's a process, and it's a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you had seen my post with Eugene Sandow, and
love it.
I mean, he knew this stuff 130 years ago, and it's
crazy
saying that he knew, like, he was like,
yes, insane.
So, and that's like what I had posted is like, why are we? This is like maybe not really a question, but a question I have is like, why are we so complacent with chronic disease? It's like, all right, you're going to do this, and then you're going to get diabetes, and then I have the perfect pill for you, right? You're going to do this, and you're going to get blood pressure, and I got the perfect pill for you.
Yep.
Why don't we teach these lifestyles and enforce it? It's not taken serious at all. It's a joke. I mean, you even see how even things on like TV, there's like, gym rats and, fitness nuts, like it's mocked, right? And it's, this isn't, cancel culture or anything, but it's like, there is this way that fitness has been formed that people look at, fitness freaks, oddly, as if being healthy. That's why I said fitness is another term for being healthy, So it's like,
that's exactly right.
It's like, it's a different terminology, maybe some different variables, but there's this odd society viewpoint on it where it's perfectly okay to go, have 3 appointments during the week, but going to the gym 3 times a week is, it's batshit crazy, who would ever do that?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't know the answers to these things, it just really stinks that it is this way. And, to be honest with you, for the most part, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think there might be a little conspiracy going on here with.
I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say because this is an SCA, but I don't know, maybe we'll cancel this, blot this out, but a conspiracy would make it make sense, right?
That's exactly right.
Because it does, because the simplicity. and especially, I talked to Andrew with this about Andrew Mock, and it's not, with COVID, this is not downplaying COVID. This is not saying COVID doesn't need to be taken care of. So this isn't taking a stand on that issue. But it's like people were willing to do these measures and lockdowns and stuff like that. But the minute you say anything about going to the gym, it's like everyone freaks out on you, there's like lockdowns, but McDonald's is open, lockdowns, but you can go buy your cigarettes, right? Lockdowns, go get your cigarettes, stop at McDonald's, but don't you dare walk into the gym, right? And so like there is this societal, I think there needs to be changes within the medical field, but there also somewhere in the societal level, there needs to be this drastic change. And I brought this up with Andrew Mock. I'll bring up with you to see your idea. Dr. Rick Howard, he had posted something along the lines of exercise is here to replace the work that we're not doing anymore that our ancestors did. That's kind of like a general viewpoint. And
yep.
I responded to that. True. But now we're on the other side and we're doing the luxury type of fitness. We're doing the triathlons and the powerlifting and the strongman and all this stuff. And so, grow a bigger butt. How many Instagram pages are how to grow your butt, right? And that's what we're putting on the focus on, right? Is on this luxury side of fitness, right?
Yeah.
And we have sidestepped the fitness for health. Right? We don't talk about that. And I think that's the fitness side too. I've done that. This is almost exactly what I said to Andrew Mock. I have mocked certain things that I didn't think were maybe appropriate or that I thought was maybe I was better at. Say something like, P90X. Like, is it the best? They're doing push-ups, they're doing burpees, they're doing whatever. Like, it's a lot better if that's what gets people moving. I'm not going to tell them not to. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, maybe the fitness side has put too much stress on stuff that maybe isn't. We have health is the most important, right? Not lower chronic disease. We don't talk about that. I talked about with my clients, I'm going to get your deadlift. Three steps to fix your deadlift, and I don't talk about the health. So maybe talk about that. Maybe the fitness side, we need to step back. We need to start changing our viewpoint as well.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. There's just major problems on both sides of the continuum. On the medical side, which we already talked about, and now the fitness side, which you're hitting on. And I can't disagree with anything you're saying. It's also a huge passion of mine. And I think social media just plays a huge role in making this problem an exponential problem, because like you said, it's becoming about the aesthetics and the wrong things, and we're forgetting about what Sandow said 130 years ago. And so I think that, but how do you change? Like, when I present to exercise science students, for example, one of the things I love to do is, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but one of the things I love to do is break the fitness field, for lack of a better phrase, down into domains. And I'll say there's academia, like if you want to become a instructor or professor at a college or university, or a phys ed teacher or something like that. And then there's a strength and conditioning coach. There's the health club domain, there's corporate fitness, and there's medical fitness, the clinical side. But out of those 5 domains, by far the largest is the health club domain. And that's also the domain that tends to have the biggest influence on what's going on. So if we can't alter that domain and get them to understand that it's not that we got to start talking more about the health benefits and the things that you're talking about right now, then how are we ever going to really make large changes in the industry as a whole? The clinical side gets it, because that's what we do. Academia, I'd like to think they at least somewhat get it, because they're teaching, I know they have classes like exercise prescription for special populations as part of a lot of the curricula. So, but if we got to change the largest domain, health club domain.
Yeah, I think, because even like PE, I think PE was either taken out of some schools or maybe completely downgraded. I forget. I read something. I don't know if you've heard anything but Yeah, I think I don't know. There is like there needs to be, I think, when like you go to your doctor, and I think maybe I posted on this, or maybe Andrew Mox, like if it's something like high blood pressure, instead of the doctor immediately throwing them pills, say, before we go the pill route, we're going to put you on an 8-week resistance training program. You need to complete this before we give you
Exactly.
those pills. And
Exactly.
I don't even know if that's legal. I don't know the whatever, but until we start doing that, I don't think it's going to change, because we've become complacent. We've become complacent to taking a pill for our issues, not fixing our issues, right? But
Yeah.
there needs to be a much larger emphasis and prescription. And I don't want to use the word forcing, because I don't like to force anyone to do anything.
Right.
But maybe before you can do this, right?
Yeah.
You need to do this. Before you go get gastric bypass, you need to go on this regulated, we're going to watch you,
Yep.
we're going to control this. You need to go on that and see if you really can't lose that weight. And then if you do, okay, then we're going to do this. But somewhere have strength and conditioning, that this exercise be the first prescription. And then if that still doesn't work, which it probably will from the studies we read, right? It's probably going to change it. Then we go the pill route. So exercise first, and then pill as a last resort, not pill as a last resort. And we can kind of mock the exercise guys.
Yeah. So I definitely have something to say on this. First of all, it's an ingenious idea. Second of all, going back to my first experience out of college at Duke Medical Center's diet and fitness center, and I am not exaggerating at all. And I'm not saying this just to as a way to be a yes man and agree with what you said. What you said is literally what I saw, because it started as an internship. So here I am, an intern, and because I'm an intern, I'm actually rooming in the same across the street from the facility, because it was Duke Medical Center, but it wasn't attached to the actual medical center. It was a satellite location, and across the street from the facility was a former hotel that Duke bought out, and that's where the patients or clients who came there for the program stayed. And as an intern, that's where I stayed, and so I'm kind of living in the same, not rooms with them, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm also eating in the cafeteria. So here I am, an intern. I'm eating in the cafeteria. I'm kind of shy back then, and hearing the conversations that are going on, and I'm not exaggerating at all. By the second week mark, the conversations between the patients there would be like, "Hey, I lost 7 pounds this week. How much did you lose?" "Yeah, I lost 5 pounds, or I lost 9 pounds," or something like that.
Yeah, it's not
"Oh, that's
magic.
great." And then they'd say, "And my doctor halved my, such and such medication." "Yeah, they did with mine too." So I'm telling you, within 2 weeks, you were starting to see major changes like that, not only with weight loss, fat loss, but also how it was improving their metabolic health, less knee pain they talk about, et cetera, et cetera. And the programs there at the time, the most popular programs, there was a 1 week program, which was mostly educational. There was a 2 week program, and there was a 4 week program. And then only the outliers could stay longer than that. But even in just 1 month, you would see significant weight loss, significant reduction in medications, significant improvement in health in 1 month. Now, let me also add that the program, they were required to perform aerobic exercise for 45 to 60 minutes, 5 days a week. That was from an exercise standpoint, it was a requirement. If they didn't meet that requirement, they were kicked out of the program. So they had to do aerobic exercise, treadmill, bicycle, or elliptical, 45 to 60 minutes for at least 5 days a week. And then, like I said earlier in our talk, the strength training was optional, but it's an expensive program. The people who went there typically were middle and upper class, could afford it. So many of them were opting to do the strength training as well. But anyways, long story short, you are exactly right. You only need that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and as long as you're on a properly designed program, you're going to see immediate results, and potentially move a large subset of the population to say, yeah, you know what, I would rather go this route and not go with not only the medications, but all the side effects that go with them. So totally agree.
Yeah, for sure. There's it happens like very, very quickly. But the cool thing with exercise is it doesn't stop, right? The more you do, the more benefits you get, you know?
Exactly.
You know, it's so,
Exactly.
you know, maybe you feel like crap and you just don't have energy. 2 weeks, you're gonna feel better. And you maybe have some better biomarkers, and you keep exercising, keep training, you get healthier, lose a little bit of weight, and then all of a sudden you start loving it, right? And it becomes part of a passion.
Exactly.
And you go do it. So that's a good, you know, I think that's one thing I with all my clients is I really emphasize sports. And I don't care what sport it is. I like strongman. I used to do, you know, I talked to Andrew Mock. He did triathlons. I used to do triathlons. I used to run, trail run. I've done kayaking. I want to do more kayaking. You know, Dr. Jose Antonio, who got me into stand-up paddle boards.
Nice.
I love all that stuff, man. I don't care what it is. Martial arts, you want to, I don't, whatever it is, cycling, soccer, football,
Couldn't agree
whatever.
more.
And because the fact is that's I don't like falling to the minimalist denominator, right? The least common denominator. I don't like the least standards, but if that's all, if everyone just started playing some sort of a sport activity, there's your problem's gone, right? And I think everyone paintball, right? I used to love playing paintball back in the day, just running around shooting people. You didn't think about it, but you were running around and jumping. And if we just started doing that, and it's more, and maybe it's, some people don't like lifting weights. It is what it is. But so find the sport, find something you like doing outside 3 times a week, whatever. Something, ideally, something you don't have to say, oh, this, I got to do this 2 more times this week.
Right.
It's something that you just go off and do because you actually love it.
Man, I couldn't agree more. I grew up, I was very fortunate to have grown up in suburbia, in a suburb of a town in Pennsylvania. And I was just really fortunate to just uh some of my best friends were high level, you know, like high school and college athletes. Like for instance, my best friend in high school, he was in my neighborhood, but he actually went to a different high school. But he was named the best basketball player in the county and ended up getting a scholarship to university, blah blah blah. But the point is that we always had someone in the neighborhood had the big yard to go play in, and so I grew up playing everything: basketball, baseball, volleyball, tennis. I played competitive tennis, et cetera, et cetera. But I couldn't agree with you more. If we could just get more people playing, you're right. As much as I'm into strength, you know, here we are, you know, you're strongman Sig. We're talking about the general theme of our conversation being strongman, but you're right. As important as strength is, it's arguably as or more important for people to just move and move in different directions and not always just, you know, as we get older, we tend to just stand up. We're sagittal plane. We
Yeah.
stand up, we move somewhere, we sit down and sit too much, and then we stand up, we go somewhere, we sit down, and we're way too sagittal plane. And if you're playing, then you're moving around in all the different planes and getting all the benefits, etc. And you're not thinking about, like you just said, oh, I got to do another 2 sets with 90 seconds of rest in between at an RPE of 8.5, you know, that kind of stuff. You don't have to think about that. You're just playing.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons I do sports is, and I've gotten slack from like the hardcore bros. It's like, if I'm not training for something, I don't necessarily love training, you know, like I do, I never stop, but I've been involved in some sort of sport for the last 12 years minimum. And it's weird. It's like if I stop, it's like I still go to the gym, but I like having that goal. I like going to races and socializing with people. I thoroughly enjoy that. And that's like personally, like I love strongman, and strongman's growing. I think strongman is a great sport for gym people, right? Because you're still lifting heavy weights, you're moving it. You don't have to worry about doing too much cardio, you know, because cardio.
I'm right there with that too.
So it's like you get this group, you get these people, you meet, you have objectives, you have progressive goals. I like kind of like the whole traveling and the whole lifestyle with it and all that good stuff. Last, you know, comments on that?
Yeah, not honestly, not really, other than to say that I just completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Really do. Wish there was a way that we could just change society, and you start getting into all the socioeconomic issues and rural, urban, like I live in New York City and I live in Manhattan, but issues with you know, like where do you play here in New York City? It's just there's definitely places, but it isn't like suburbia where I had a car and I just had my basketball, my tennis racket, and stuff like that in the trunk of my car, and I could just go to a park whenever I wanted to. It isn't like that here in New York City. So that's one of the bad things. I love New York City, but moving here has kind of turned me from a recreational athlete guy to yeah, now I actually do have to go to the gym, and that's where I get my enjoyment. But yeah, I just wish there was some way that we could just change society, make play so much more accessible, and then get the medical community to understand the importance of this stuff and do what you said, where I'm not you would benefit from such and such medication, but you'd benefit more from exercise. So first we're gonna, make you exercise or play or whatever the case may be for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think the last point on that is the other thing with sports is what's severely lacking in America is that socialization. You go get
Yeah,
pills, you go home and sit down on your TV and pop some pills, and it's, oh, I wonder why I'm sad. It's like, well,
yeah,
socialization, which exercise again by itself, deadlifts and all that good stuff does show immediate improvements on mental health and
yeah.
depression and even suicide and stuff. But even still, like pills don't do that, right? Sports, even going to the gym. I mean, depending, I guess if you like, I hate talking at the gym. But
We're,
yeah,
it's interesting because we're just meeting, for the audience's sake. Gary and I are actually just meeting. We've known each other for probably a whopping 2 weeks.
yeah,
Plenty of DM conversations on Facebook, but we're just meeting. But it is amazing how much we have in common, because I'm exactly the same way when it comes to that as well.
yeah. And I think, and that's why I like this thing. I like why we're doing this. I like what you and Andrew Mock are doing. Because I think there's a lot of people thinking this, and maybe they've been too like me. Like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, right? But now I got you to back me up. I got Andrew Mock to back me up. So you have this team. You have people maybe more willing to speak their mind, more willing to say, yeah, I worked at this place and I wanted to do this, but I was too scared. I didn't want to ruffle the feathers, right? So getting people out talking, because I think there's probably more people who feel this way than we know of. They just maybe, like I said, maybe too scared or whatnot to be vocal about it.
I'm biased towards our conversation, but I think this was a great conversation.
And I think there's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah,
I think, and again, like this is my only. I'm not that. I won't say I'm familiar. I just don't mess with that side because I'm a guy. I stay in my lane. But then I start seeing and hearing things like I will say something if I think something just doesn't make sense to me. If I talk to people after I talk to people who do know what they're talking about, right? But anyways, so yeah, man. We said technical difficulties again, but we had a awesome conversation. We both have a couple things to do. I didn't know that was gonna be longer, but we can definitely do this again. I'd like to set like get roundtable. NSCA TV, they're doing their thing. Get you,
yeah,
Dr. Rick Howard,
absolutely.
Andrew Mock, and go to town and just talk. Okay, I think that's what it needs. I think talking and getting information out.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, man.
absolutely. Yeah, this first of all, so let me just end by saying this was a great discussion.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I can tell from my end that I froze up again. But let me just end by saying this was a great discussion. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Totally agree with NSCA TV and the opportunities to have roundtables and I'm from my SIG standpoint, I'll be interviewing you and Rick Howard and kind of return the favor. But yeah, but this was great.
All right, man. Thanks, man.
Yep, thank you.